Welcome to This Week in Anderson County. I'm your host, Chad McNabb. Thank you so much for joining us at home tonight. We are absolutely thrilled to have with us Mr. Dalton Temple, who is the CEO of Hill City Strategies, based out of Chattanooga. Dalton is an up-and-coming political operative. He's run over 100 campaigns with Hill City Strategies, and most recently the campaign manager for Chuck Flashman for Congress here in Tennessee, which was a very successful campaign. Dalton, thanks so much for joining us tonight here on the show.
Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to be back up in Anderson County.
Thank you so much. And there's a lot we want to get to, a lot going on in politics right now, both on the state and federal level. But just for viewers at home, a lot of political junkies know who you are, but maybe somebody just tuning in for the first time. If you could just give us a little bit about your background and what led you into politics.
So back in 2014, I was working in the OR with a team doing cervical surgeries, and Obamacare went through and the Affordable Care Act passed. And what you saw was a very big change overnight once that went through. Malpractice insurance went up. The regulations were just a lot to handle for these doctors. And right then and there, I decided I wanted to be a part of changing and helping folks out instead of being affected by the change of others. So we left there and went to work in South Carolina, came back to Tennessee, worked on a few state house races, and opened Hill City Strategies, and that was almost 5 years ago now.
Wow. And originally from Georgia?
Yes, I was raised right outside of Atlanta, Georgia, in Covington. I went to Eastside High School. I wrestled for the University of Tennessee, Chattanooga, and that's what brought me to Chattanooga, where I decided to stay after that was over.
And I was reading your bio, studied poli-sci at UT, I believe.
And English.
And English,
yes.
Okay. Very good. So do you root for the Vols or Chattanooga? Where?
So my father's from Pittsburgh, so we are a Steeler family. We're
my regards. My regards this week.
It was a tough loss.
That was tough.
Not making it into the playoffs, and I was just in Pittsburgh yesterday.
Oh, okay.
So one thing I love, whether you're in a winning season or a losing season, everyone there is wearing Penguins or Pirates or Steeler gear. And, there's a lot of tradition in that city for those three teams.
It's one of my favorite cities to visit. I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan, and someone recently told me the difference between Philadelphia and Pittsburgh is in Pittsburgh, if you're lost, somebody will tell you where you're going. In Philadelphia, they'll run over you. So I don't know if that's true or not.
Coming from a Pittsburgh family, I'd always envisioned Philadelphia being something of dirty, to say the least, and actually had the opportunity to go to Philadelphia. We had some work there, maybe March or April, I think it was, of this past year, and it was just absolutely beautiful. It was stunning. Philadelphia is an amazing city, so much history, just like the city of Boston. Actually, very much enjoyed being on that far east side of the state.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And so you get into politics because of Obamacare, which I think was something that one of the political issues for the first time people really did see it affecting them immediately, like on a federal level. My mother-in-law, for example, had been with the company for 30 years, and then out of the blue, small company under 50 employees, CEO comes in and says, "We can no longer afford to pay this." And you all got a couple of weeks, but it was devastating. The effect on so that's really what inspired you, you're saying.
Yep, and I think just in these last 2 years, we are coming out of the effects of that on corporations. It was an eye-opener on something that could have been good, but was pushed through so fast. People were angry after it was passed, and then once that effect date came to play, and so many things changed overnight, and especially small business across the country was not ready for that. I think it pulled a lot to the party, and it showed in that 2010 midterm.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And so you start running races. If you could tell us about some of the races you run. I mentioned Chuck Flashman. If there's any others you'd like to share with us, some names we might know.
Well, Chuck's great. He does fantastic for the 3rd District. He's fantastic for Anderson County and especially Hamilton County, where I live. But we've worked on a few state house races. We've had the pleasure of working in South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, Mississippi, and Alabama.
Wow.
And we held clients this year in New Hampshire. So it was, we're really broadening our bases, working with not only a lot of different people that are doing great things in different states, but you learn a different style of politics. You learn how different areas and different regions are affected. One thing, just to push out there, here in Tennessee, vouchers has become a talking issue in our state house, and no matter what side you're on there, it's been talked about for the last two sessions. It's going to be a big part of this session, and where we are in Tennessee, I've been not against it, but just on the fence, leaning towards that against side. In New Hampshire, they're set up so differently, and their counties are set up so differently in the way their schools are ran. They have to have vouchers to survive.
Oh, wow.
So you get to see a more, not only well-rounded argument on certain issues, but why different arguments work in different places than they might hear or somewhere else.
Yeah, that's very interesting about how different the states are and their politics. I imagine in a place like New Hampshire, it's probably a lot more retail politics than some of our bigger states because of the presidential primaries coming through there, and they expect that, I guess.
It actually affects them more harshly, in my opinion.
Really?
Presidential candidates knock on your door.
Yeah.
In New Hampshire.
Yeah.
So when we're not in that presidential cycle every 4 years, and when the state house and the state senate is running, it's looked at differently. They're looked at as
not as important.
Not as important.
Yeah.
Not they matter, and people get very involved in it, but not as important, especially when they're going around. I had one candidate, we had a mailer together and made his palm cards and pushed that stuff up there, and he said, I can't use this. Yeah. It looks like I'm running for Congress. This is too good.
Oh, wow.
And so they even backtrack themselves in their lanes.
One of my favorite stories John McCain would tell about New Hampshire was he said that a lady there was asked, what do you think about John McCain? And she said, I don't know, I've only met him 3 times. It's like, they just expect that. So it's very fascinating. But I do want to get back to some issues here in Tennessee. There's a lot going on that you're in the thick of as far as advising candidates. One of the big issues lately has been the open or closed primaries in Tennessee. What's your take on that? Where do you think we're going?
So just a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago now, Norman Bobo and a conservative bloc of the state executive committee did a great job in pushing that issue of closed primaries. They got it on the ballot, and it was passed at the swearing meeting. Now that's going to go to the legislature to be voted on. Particularly with closed primaries, right now our state is an open primary system. With open primaries, as long as you fall under the guidelines to run that were set last year, anyone can vote for you. So a Democrat who's voted in every Democrat primary can vote in the Republican primary. You walk in, you ask for whichever ballot you want, and you vote for that person. That can swing elections, and it can if you have a conservative and a moderate running, and you have a moderate Democrat on the other side that's unopposed, well, Democrats can swing into the Republican primary and elect who they want to run against. One thing we saw in the presidential 2016 election was the Clinton campaign wanted to run against Donald Trump.
Right.
So that's what we're seeing, and that's what the big argument is in Tennessee here, is to keep our primaries, to secure our primaries, to keep our candidates secure, to make sure that Republicans who are on the ballot, and when a Republican wins, it's a true Republican. It's not a Republican in name only. Now, the state party took great steps to ensure that in 2018 with the take on bona fide Republican, whether you're bona fide or not. For state executive committee, you've had to vote in 3 of the last 3 primaries. So you have a statewide primary every 2 years. So 6 years you're a bona fide Republican. To run as a Republican and to hold that title, 3 out of 4. So now we're going from that protected our candidates, but our candidates are still not protected from voters. So what the state executive committee has now done is voted to protect our candidates from voters, and they've sent that to the legislator to be voted on, and we'll see if that can be enacted.
And just playing devil's advocate, because you mentioned the bona fide Republican issue. I was involved with a couple of campaigns on the local level here in 2018. We did have to go to, our state executive committee had a forum where you really, each candidate had to prove their bona fides, which, the candidates I was helping had no problem with that. They checked out. The issue I had with it at the time, and I'd be interested to hear you address this, wasn't there already a system in place where you could write the state executive committee and challenge someone's credentials, and they would be forced to make a decision on that?
So let's say that over the last 4 primaries, you missed one.
Sure.
You have voted Republican twice. You missed 2. You registered to vote in a presidential year. You voted for the president that you wanted. Then you missed 2 statewide primaries and came back, and now you're voting. In that 4 block, you are only a 2 of 4. Now, once that state election that maybe you're trying to be on the ballot for, once you vote there, you'll be 3 of 4. So if I'm your competitor and you're running and I have your voting record, I am not allowed to make a challenge, but 2 people within the district have to make a challenge to your credentials, which then it'll be taken under advisement from the state party. And the state party will talk to other elected Republicans, they'll talk to the county party chair, and then it becomes a process on if this person is allowed to run or not. Now, in that situation, 9 times out of 10, if you're active in the party, if you've donated money to the party, you're going to be allowed to run. But there is that gray area where it could go either way.
Yeah, and I think it's me personally, it's sort of a slippery slope either way, because there is a need to protect the party, I think, as far as from infiltration. I'll just say it, from infiltration. But on the other hand, what do you say to the idea of wanting to expand the party for people, maybe a Democrat that's seen the light?
So for me, I'm a advocate for semi-closed primaries.
Okay.
We must protect our party and the values at which that party stands, but we also must grow the party. I was in conversations with people just this week, 2 yesterday and 1 on New Year's Eve, about how the Democratic Party has left them. Their values are no longer the same. So in the semi-closed primary system that I like, in the utopia that it could be, you have a system of registering for your party. Now, once you register for your party, that allows you after a certain time period to run holding that title of Republican.
Okay.
For the people who have registered as Democrats, they are not allowed to jump over and vote in a Republican primary, but that the independent base of those who have not registered, they can go either way, just like it is now, but they're not allowed to run. So it doesn't create the stigma of you must register. It allows there to be freedom. But if you're going to run, if you want to be a Republican, then you have to register and be a part of the system to lead the system.
Sure.
So I don't think that challenges anyone. I think that allows people to switch from being a registered Democrat to being a registered Republican. And if you're not ready to go the whole way, you can just drop your registration and be a true independent.
I really think that's a really good common sense solution to this. I hope, are people pushing that at any level, you think? Any odds of that happening?
It's been discussed and it's been talked about within our state executive committee, but right now we are in this situation of the closed primaries has passed their chambers and is now heading to the legislative chamber. If that motion fails, then we will go back to the drawing board just like anything else and revise and push forward again.
So if the primaries do end up being closed, do you think the political parties should have to pay for that?
I do not. So we, constitutionally, we are going to have elections anyway. Whether they be Republican or Democrat, we are talking about 2 parties. During the 2016 election, one thing we saw was a big push across the state for the Libertarian Party to be a recognized party on the ballot. And that is just by signatures. It's my belief that no political party should have to pay, because not only do you dismantle maybe some smaller counties and their partisan elections, but you also dismantle growth if a new party were to establish itself. So I think we are in a system where it is for the county to pay. If you don't want to pay for full primary days, there's options to caucus within the bylaws. But no, I do not believe that parties individually should pay.
And we're going to have to take a quick commercial break. When we get back, I want to talk about our incoming governor, Governor Lee, some more things on negative campaigning that we've seen so much of this campaign season. I want everyone to stay with us, and I want you to check out In-N-Out Maintenance. Jimmy Bouchard, he's a native Oak Ridger here. The only person I trust for any kind of home maintenance. Please check Jimmy Bouchard out on Facebook. We'll be right back after these messages.
Well, my name is Carmel Beatty, and this is my son Lachlan, and he's 4. He has Down syndrome. And a couple of years ago, we looked for a program for him to attend a daycare or a preschool, and we really weren't prepared for the obstacles that we encountered when we were looking for a program for him, just because he's not on the developmental level of a typical child. But we found the Early Learning Center, and without hesitation, they said they would be happy to have him, they would be happy to serve him, and he has really enjoyed coming here. He's been here almost 2 years. He's thrived in their program. They don't hesitate if they need to make adaptations for an activity for him to participate. We've always tried to just form his life around him being a typical child, that he's not different from the other kids. And that's really the way we're treated here, and it's really helped our family to also see him, you know, as just like any other child. The Early Learning Center is definitely a family, and we couldn't be happier with our services here and the time that we've spent here.
We are ASAP of Anderson, and our mission is to prevent and reduce substance misuse among youth and adults in Anderson County. Prevention is providing information and building skills, but it is also providing support, changing access, changing consequences, changing the physical design of the community, and modifying policy. What role will you play in preventing substance misuse? Find out more at asapofanderson.org.
Oh, hey, bud. Where are you headed?
Just gonna hang out.
With Gary and Todd?
Yeah?
I've been meaning to ask you, is there any drinking going on in this crowd?
No?
If any of your buddies ever pressure you to take a drink, just tell them you promised your dad you wouldn't. I'd do anything to keep you safe.
Okay, I will.
I hope this is working.
I promise. Love you too, Dad.
They really do hear you. For tips on what to say, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
I am for the child who lives in motels, cars, and shelters, now in foster care, a group home, where he sleeps not on a bed, but on a temporary cot. He is the child I am for. I am a CASA volunteer. I am you.
Welcome back to This Week in Anderson County. I'm your host, Chad McNabb. We are delighted to be joined by Mr. Dalton Temple, the CEO of Hill City Strategies. We've been having a conversation about all things politics in the state of Tennessee. I want to pick up on that and talk about our new governor, Governor Lee. You and I were talking, before the show, and I expressed I was quite surprised by the primary results. Diane Black and Randy Boyd fought such a hard battle, and then to see Governor Lee come out of that, it was surprising to some of us. What do you expect from our new governor, and how do you think he will govern different than Governor Haslam?
So one thing I like about Governor-elect Lee, and only governor-elect for 2 more
Couple
weeks,
more, yeah.
is he won a primary campaign against great candidates.
Oh,
we
yeah.
were very fortunate in Tennessee this year. We had a slew of great candidates with just a highways long resume when you all stacked them up to each other. But he won a primary campaign without running one single negative ad in what ended up being a very bloody primary cycle. So he had a great team put together. He had great grassroots. And what amazed me is how people took a hold of his message. From East Tennessee to West Tennessee, Tri-Cities to Shelby County. I won't say he has a lot to live up to, but so many people came together to push him forward and propel him in those last weeks to win that primary, and then go on to win against Carl Dean in the general. He made the 10 for Tennessee contract. He now under Haslam He worked on corrections reform, and part of his stump speech, part of his story, is the mentee that he took in under his wing and met with every week to help with that process. I don't think he's going to be the same as Haslam in a lot of ways, but I think we'll see a good, conservatively moderate governor who will continue to push new ideas and work very well with two conservative chambers of the House under two new leaders over this next cycle. This next session in the General Assembly is going to tell a lot about what kind of Governor-elect Lee will be.
And I want to get to the upcoming legislative session, and there's probably not enough to go on at this point, but expanding on that a little bit, do you think that Governor Lee will be more conservative than Governor Haslam, or there may not be enough to go on?
I don't think there's enough to go on. When I think he will, but that's only a matter of degrees. I don't think he's going to be a hard right-liner. I think he's going to be in that spectrum that we saw Haslam in, and to me, it's why Haslam is being considered for Senator Lamar's seat now, coming in 2020. He had modern policies. It hurt him in some of the far right conservative areas of the state, but he pushed good policies for Tennessee, and I think Governor-elect Lee is going to do the same thing and just be an overall great leader for our state.
I couldn't agree more. Fantastic guy. I got to meet him, on the trail, and certainly seems very, very capable and genuine. So I'm excited to see where he goes. Speaking of political primaries and the negativity that we saw and how Governor-elect Lee stayed out of that, for me personally, a lifelong Tennessean, the most negative race I've ever seen in my life was Senator-elect Blackburn and Phil Bredesen. I had never seen anything like that, just in terms of the volume of mail that we all got. It was 4 or 5 pieces a day almost from both. The TV was constant with commercials. With that as the backdrop, why do you think political primaries have gone so negative over the past decade?
Well, going from that particular election back to the primaries.
Sure, that was a general, but
here in Tennessee, we are in a supermajority, and we majoritied 10 years ago, a decade ago, in 2008, under Obama's first term. When we talked about earlier that midterm, once we come for that midterm and we've supermajoritied, we only have each other to fight with.
Sure,
there are very few districts in Tennessee at this current moment in time that are looked at as swings, or a Democrat has a chance or a Republican has a chance. Elections are won in Tennessee in this day and age in 2018 and will be in 2020 in the primaries. So it go back into that 2010, 2008 elections, maybe 2006, and you see more negative campaigning in the general elections. Now we're at a point where our primaries are the elections in most districts. So it's the fault of a supermajority. What's great is we have a Republican trifecta. We have the House, the Senate, and the governorship. The Republican trifecta. And that gives good conservative government. We need good conservative government here in Tennessee. It's done great things for us. But what it hurts us is in the primaries, we only have each other to fight against. And fighting against each other leads to those negative primaries.
Yeah. And we were talking about, Governor-elect Lee and the hopes there. What do you think will be the big issues in the legislature in 2019 when they get ready to go into session?
Well, right now, we just 2 days ago now, we had 30 new laws enact themselves. We will see. I think all those laws are going to stay on the books just as written. There won't have to be any corrections. Laws to come here in Tennessee is, I think we're going to see more movement. Medical cannabis has been something that's been talked about and pushed the last 2 years. I do believe that will be pushed more this year, and also not just that, but the hemp industry that was pushed by Representative Jay Reedy of Houston County. We're now in a part where our Department of Agriculture is honing in that our Volkswagen has told the state that if you can plant X amount of acreage, we'll buy it from you. They use hemp to make the plastics in their car doors, in the vehicles that are being produced here in Tennessee. So as we refine what we've already done, I think that'll be a big issue. One big issue that came in the governor's campaign, two issues actually, is corrections and adoptions. I'll give credit to Randy Boyd for really championing the adoption issue. He shined light on an issue that not many people know about, and I think Governor-elect Lee and his administration will continue that issue and see if we can make Tennessee a more adoption-friendly state.
You mentioned corrections. Any specifics changes we can see there?
I don't know specifics off the top of my head, and I have not had that conversation with many folks on the Hill. That's right now, if I'm not mistaken, I think Governor-elect Lee chose to keep the head of corrections the same as Haslam's. I think that was released today. If I am wrong about that, we can correct it later. But Governor-elect Lee is going to direct that. And I don't think we're going to see a lot of position and posturing until his inauguration on the weekend of the 18th. And once that's over and the assembly is gavelled into sessions, that's when we'll really see what we're going to be talking about.
Sure. And, doing this for a living, getting to talk to so many members of the House and Senate, who do you think are sort of looking into crystal ball? Who are the future political stars that you see coming up? Somebody that we might want to keep our eye on?
Well, to me, when we talk about the new up-and-comings, we are blessed to have great new leadership in the House and in the Senate. We won some key special elections, and we had some folks leave. Mark Green left to become representative, Representative Mark Green of the 7th District today. And Montgomery County will appoint his successor on the 14th of January, and then that will just be for an interim appointment. They will go to a special election. But to me, you don't just watch the newcomers, because we have so many veterans in our General Assembly who bring home results year after year. The combination of Senator Bo Watson and Representative Mike Carter out of Hamilton County. One law that just took effect on January 1st is the civil asset forfeiture. They pushed that through. The House came together. Mike Carter and Bo Watson are also those who championed the annexation, de-annexation. And then we have Randy McNally right here out of Anderson County. Speaker Glenn Cassida, who was just elected Speaker, and now Majority Leader of the State Senate, Jack Johnson. So we have new blood in leadership, but we have the veterans who have been there and are going to continue to bring results to the people of Tennessee.
I couldn't agree more with that assessment. And speaking of a tried and true leader in the state of Tennessee, Senator Lamar Alexander, just an institution in himself.
Yes.
Obviously announced that he is not seeking re-election. What's your take on that race as it stands right now? Who are the favorites to succeed him? Who are the names out there?
Well, before we get into that, could go back to Senator Alexander. 2 terms. Corker, 2 terms. That is the epitome of leadership. That was started when our country was founded, to serve and then let young blood, new blood, step in and serve in that position. So I commend both senators. We have 2 great men, and it's just the end of an era. But right now, names being floated around is the ambassador to Japan, Bill Hagerty. He has been floated, a very wealthy man. Also, governor for the next 2 weeks, Bill Haslam. Both men could be great candidates. One candidate I'd like to see, if they run, is Congressman Chuck Fleischman. He has done great for the 3rd District. He's an appropriator who has brought federal funds back to Tennessee, helping our people, helping the Chickamauga Lock. Those 3 there are a great candidate. Those 3 are good politically together. So I think we're going to see leaders come out. Once we get closer, we will see more business folks come. But those 3 right now are the best to watch, keep your eye on.
And knowing all that you know as far as people in the business, do you think there's interest on all 3 of their parts? Can you say that?
I would say yes, but all 3 of them have jobs that they're doing right now. Jobs they're very happy they're doing, and doing a very good job at.
Absolutely.
So I think there's a lot to be looked at over the next 6 months. I think we're going to start to see announcements around.
What do you think the
summer.
timeline on that would be?
I think we'll see announcements around May to August.
Okay.
Because you got to have a year to campaign. It's going to come very quickly. We'll see the postures. The news media will start to write it up more. But those three are the ones to keep the eye on. And not only that, keep an eye on the job they're doing. They're doing great jobs. And I could see some having trouble leaving it. They're doing such a good job. So
Sure.
that is definitely going to play a factor into who announces.
Okay, and I'd like to get into that more, but we are going to have to go to a quick commercial break. We'll be right back after these messages.
My name is Sabrina Sumlin, and Healthy Families Tennessee has helped me a lot as a first-time mom. They taught me a lot about newborn care, and they also helped a lot with development as my son got older. The person that comes is Leona, and she interacts with Jackson so well. And there's a book where she goes through different milestones I should be expecting and ways to deal with terrible twos or just different things, even when he first started eating solid food. And she makes sure to include advice for him as our son gets older, as well as the advice for me. In some of the simplest ways, just as having someone to talk to. When you're a stay-at-home mom and you're at home with a toddler all the time, you don't get out a lot. And so that's one just really simple way.
I remember the moment.
I'll never forget that moment.
That moment?
It was a moment that changed my life. I'd been training with my team for months, and now we had been called up for the first time. The real deal. Wildfires were getting dangerously close to homes. At that moment, I got my first taste of just how important the Guard is to my community.
See how the Guard can be an important part of your life at NationalGuard.com.
Introducing a new day of the week. Someday. Now, everything you were going to do someday is on the calendar. Want to retire someday? You'll really want this. A My Social Security account at socialsecurity.gov. You can estimate your future benefits and manage current benefits online. Millions of people have a My Social Security account. Get yours today, because someday is here at socialsecurity.gov.
The United States Air Force has a proud history of leading our nation in embracing diversity. We've been reaching new heights for years by understanding it's our individual experiences which make us strong. You can share in this success by seeking opportunities to learn and grow as a member of a diverse team. We are the world's greatest Air Force, not because of what we do, but who we are. This message is brought to you by the U.S. Air Force.
We are ASAP of Anderson, and our mission is to prevent and reduce substance misuse among youth and adults in Anderson County. Prevention is providing information and building skills, but it is also providing support, changing access, changing consequences, changing the physical design of the community, and modifying policy. What role will you play in preventing substance misuse? Find out more at asapofanderson.org.
In Vietnam, we took care of each other.
In combat, you look out for your battle buddy.
I'd do anything for my unit.
When things get tough, it's great to know
somebody's there for you.
Every step of the way.
DAV stands behind America's veterans to make their transition back home easier, with free services and help getting the benefits they've earned. Help us fulfill the promise to our men and women who served. Go to DAV.org to learn more.
Welcome back to This Week in Anderson County. Our show is brought to you by In-N-Out Maintenance. Please check them out on Facebook for all your home maintenance needs. We are continuing our conversation with Dalton Temple. Really been enjoying this, talking about politics. You're in the state of Tennessee, a lot going on. We were mentioning, starting to talk about 2020 a little bit, but it's hard to believe that it's almost here, but it is. What's it looking like in Tennessee right now as far as 2020?
So, of course, before we broke the last segment, we're going to have a new senator running. We don't know how many candidates that's going to bring yet. That could be as few as 2, or we could see what we saw this year in the governor primary with 4 to 6. The possibilities are endless. It really depends on who gets out, how they get out, and how much money is going to be spent in the election. I believe that Tennessee will re-elect our president. I believe our president will be re-elected, and for all Republicans on that ballot in 2020, he is just going to do great things. The primaries will be separate. Presidential primary will be in February or March, and our state will run in August. But in that general election, there's going to be another red wave. I think we're going to take seats back. It's going to be a great year, great cycle for Tennessee.
That is music to my ears. I love the sound of that. I do want to expand a little bit on President Trump. Right now at about a 41% approval rating, depending on what poll you believe, but still very, very popular here in Tennessee. You mentioned some in your last answer of what you think, but I mean, do you think he'll be a positive influence on Republican candidates as far as helping them at the ballot in 2020 when he's on the ballot as well?
Here in Tennessee?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yeah. No doubt in my mind. Once again, from the eastern part of the state to the western, he will help everyone who is on the ballot with the R beside their name. He did a great thing in 2018. He brought out his voters to vote in midterms. That's something that we really haven't seen from a president before. President Obama tried his hardest, stumped harder than President Trump did, and couldn't do it. So now with President Trump back on the ballot, now the majority of them aren't just coming out, all of them are coming back out, and you're going to see down ballot Republican races who are going to benefit from that.
Something that I always talk to my Democrat friends about that I'd like to get your take on is I always tell them that I think they're really missing the boat to work with President Trump on a lot of issues because he wasn't, in my opinion, as ideologically, as like a Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio. He was a real estate guy and a deal maker, and I think that there was a lot of deals to be made there. They're definitely, in my opinion, missing the boat to work with. Where do you think this absolute hatred for him comes right out of the gate to refuse to work with him, with a guy that they could probably get a lot done?
Well, wildly enough, I'm so happy you asked me that question. One, he's that millennial term, he's a master troller.
Sure.
When Nancy Pelosi, she's right on the edge of not having enough. She was elected speaker today, but she's right on the edge of losing too many votes. And he comes out and says, if she needs help with votes, I'll go get them. It caused a riot within her ranks. It was amazing. But not only that, I'm glad you asked the question because right now I'm reading a new book called The Red and the Blue, and it goes into where this divide came from. This divide is not because of just Trump. This divide has been a long time coming, and it starts back in the House with Tip O'Neill and Newt Gingrich from Georgia and the battles that they had.
Sure.
That was just calling out bad politics. But now we have moved so far from that to we are just in an obstructionist state. They're not going to work with the president because their voters and their base hates the president. Yeah. They hate Republicans. It's not about who he is or what deals he can make. I truly believe that the Democrats on the Hill know that they can make deals, but their base will not allow them.
Yeah, it's fascinating to watch. And I want to get your take on, we probably shouldn't be offering you free advice to the left, but one thing that surprised me after 2016, and I've got to be candid with our viewers, I did not see it coming that the president would win. I was hopeful that he would.
I don't think the president saw it coming.
According to some accounts, he didn't. There was one person I know, Judge Layton, if he's watching, that was completely confident that President Trump would win, and he did. No one else saw it coming, but I thought after that moment, the left has a real opportunity here to look itself in the mirror, the media as well, and just say, we got it so wrong. Let's reconnect with working class voters. And, there was a guy out of Ohio, Tim Ryan, the speaker, he ran for speaker against Nancy Pelosi, and he was saying, let's get away from identity politics. And they voted him down and, voted Pelosi minority leader again. And then today she's reelected. Why do you think they keep putting up these archaic people from the past that just double down on the lessons that they should have learned from 2016?
So I think there's two different answers in that. One, there's a mass exodus leaving the Democratic Party. And when you're seeing this exodus, you have to have identity politics, because identity politics is surrounded around emotion. And that's what the left is doing. We are not arguing rhyme and reason. It is emotion, emotion, emotion. And when it's so negative at that point, you can say, I can't take that anymore, and that's what's causing an exodus from the left. But the Democrats are in free fall right now. And when you're in free fall, you have to find a ledge to grab onto to stop that fall. And instead of bunkering together, creating a plan, and moving forward, we as Republicans, we were in a vulnerable position in 2018. I think we're in a better position in 2020. I believe we're going to take the House back. Democrats couldn't get it together for the midterms. There's no belief in my body that they're going to get it together for 2020. They're fighting to who's going to be the leader and reach out, grab that ledge, and stop the party from free falling instead of someone stopping the party. As long as Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer are the leaders of respectfully the House and the Senate, the Democrats will continue in free fall, and we will see a 2020 primary on the Democratic side like we saw the Republicans in 2016 with a vast majority across the debate stage, first debate.
Another topical item this week, what was your take on the Mitt Romney op-ed that we saw, kind of blasting the president before he's even inaugurated? What was your take on that?
I think Mitt Romney wants to fill the void that Corker is about to leave.
Yeah.
And he is a shoo-in for re-election until he doesn't want to be in his respective Senate seat.
Sure.
So he's going to hit the president. He's going to continue to hit the president. I do not see this as a beginning to a primary challenge.
That's what I was getting at.
I do not. I thought so, and I don't see this as a forward to a primary challenge. But let's look at it this way: the president is going to be primary. I believe it's going to be one-on-one. I don't think it's going to be Kasich. I think it's going to be Senator Flake. Senator Flake has been in South Carolina. He's been in Iowa. He's hitting the first three, having breakfasts, having meet and greets. Senator Flake, for the next 2 years, can't be the one to hit the president in this great economy that we're seeing, in booming economics, lowest minority unemployment in 5-6 decades. So I think Senator Romney is coming in and picking up that sword to beat the president with, while others try to posture to primary him. But I don't think it's going to work. I think the businessman that Senator Romney is, he's going to get in. He's going to see the obstructionist agenda of the Democrats, and he's going to correct himself. He's going to become a party man, and I do believe that over the next year, Senator Romney and President Trump will bury the hatchet and do great things for our economy.
I hope you're right, and I have a lot of respect for Mitt Romney. The stuff he's done over the years.
It's a utopian thought.
Yeah, it is. I was disappointed with that. But expanding on that a little bit, with Steve making a prediction of being Senator Flake, do you see him making it to the ballot in Tennessee after Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina? Yeah.
Personally, I don't.
Because there's several contests before we get to that Super Tuesday.
Yes.
For viewers that may.
I think he can. I think he can make a showing with our left-leaning Republicans in different states. I think he can make a showing in California. I think he'll make a showing in his own state, of course. But it's hard to donate money to someone, and hard to put in the money it takes to win a presidential election to someone who ultimately is going to lose. And the poll numbers today say he's going to lose. Next week they'll say he's going to lose, and this time next year they're going to say he's going to lose.
Yeah. And I want to get back to Congressman Fleischman, because you were such an integral part of that campaign that was so successful. Chuck continues to get 70-80% election after election. What do you think the keys to his success are? He's been such an effective congressman, and what do you think his future may hold? We touched on that a bit, but
well, Congressman Fleischman is genuine. He's very genuine, and he's very good to this district. He doesn't sit up and he doesn't live in Washington. When he gets to return home, he's back home, and he's in the district. He's in Anderson County. I was very happy to play a small part in that campaign. One of the great things that Congressman Fleischman has done is he's gone out and he's hired Ward Baker, who was credited with Senator Blackburn's win.
Sure.
So
big profile in the Tennessee and recently.
Very, very big profile throughout.
Yeah.
common Tennessee voters. So he's built a team that his opportunities are endless. He's doing a great job for Tennesseans and for Tennessee as an appropriator in the House of Representatives. But only time will tell. His opportunities are endless.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. He does a great job for a district. I cannot remember a more effective congressman in my lifetime. I mean, he's been wonderful. With that positive note, we're going to go to a break. Please check out In and Out Maintenance, our sponsor this week. And we'll be right back with the final segment with our guest, Dalton Temple.
Hi, my name is Sequoia Stewart. I have two girls that attend Girls Inc. They're twins, Sakari and Sadasia. And they attend pretty much every day of the week. They also do basketball with Girls Inc. They attend tumbling with Girls Inc. and softball with Girls Inc. They get to meet a lot of new friends. They don't exactly have to play with just friends from their school. Being with their sports program, I think that it's going to take them a long way. Just starting out the way that they've started out, and I mean, them liking it, they don't pressure, the girls or nothing like that. So the benefit for me, for them going to Girls Inc. would be giving them the opportunity to expand, meet new people, explore new things, learn new things.
Lazy bones, loafing through the day.
All over America, we're no longer just sedentary, we're stationary. And that's bad news for your bones, because bones need weight-bearing activity to grow strong and stay strong. So get up, get out, get moving. A message from the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons.
Never heard a word I say.
We are ASAP of Anderson. We are celebrating 10 years of prevention, powered by more than 11,000 hours given by volunteers like you. Together, we've reduced underage substance misuse in our county by 53.5%. Our brand has changed, but our mission remains the same. Prevention works.
I remember the moment.
I'll never forget that moment.
That changed my life.
At that moment, it hit me. This is why I joined the Guard. We're soldiers, always ready to protect our country. But we've also got communities. Family, friends, neighbors, count on us. I couldn't believe it. I just saved a life to somebody from my hometown.
See what it means to be a citizen soldier at NationalGuard.com.
And we're back with This Week in Anderson County. I'm your host, Chad McNabb. Here for our final segment with our guest, Dalton Temple, CEO of Hill City Strategies, based out of Chattanooga. Been very, very successful in running political campaigns. Picking up where we left off, one question that I didn't get to earlier is the amount of money that it costs to run for office, statewide office. We saw it in the Blackburn campaign. Sometimes $10 to $15 million statewide. Where does all that money go for people at home that may not know a whole lot about politics and they see those numbers? Where does all that go?
So in today's world, it's hard to reach a voter. In 40 years ago, there was one news station, and everybody watched the news that night. 40 years ago, we were closer in communities and at civic organizations. Now, in a world where our voters are going home and watching Netflix, or our voters are on their phones instead of either on the TV, you put that money into TV, but TV's not going to reach everybody, so you have to put the money into mail. Mail is not going to reach anybody. One thing that's come up as a booming political industry in the last 10 years is digital. So when you play games on your phone and those little banner ads pop up, or when you're on Google reading the Oak Ridger and you pass an ad in the middle of the story, those ads, it all costs money. When you look at it, it costs even more money. So in a statewide campaign, you think about how much just running in Anderson County costs, and to reach just Anderson County. Well, there's more than 90 more counties across the state, and you have to do everything the exact same way in regards to chasing these voters with digital, chasing these voters with mail, chasing these voters with canvassing and paying door knockers to go out and really having that staff. So as our states and cities grow, technology becomes different, and people continue to live their lives differently, catching those people in certain points costs more money. And you say 10 to 15 million today, in 4 years, that question will be 20 to 25 million.
Sure. And sort of a political nerd question, for lack of a better word. Do you think that because it's very fascinating what's going on with digital and the targeting with the metadata and all that type of campaigning, I'm not sure that that's come down to a local level yet. Like I'm talking about like county commission races, county mayor races.
Oh, but it has.
Well, we've seen it. Do you think it's been effective though, as far as really smaller elections?
Effective, yes. Okay. It's a very,
because I know that's where it's going, but
so let's turn to Chattanooga, and this is even on the Oak Ridger. On their online forums, everyone from dog catcher to the state representative can run banner ads.
Sure.
I mean, digital is just you find a place where everybody's going, and it creates name ID. It doesn't create winning elections. You have to put in more pieces, but it creates name ID, and it's very cheap.
Oh yeah.
Now, if you're running a monthly insert on a newspaper's website or a news outlet's website, that can be more expensive than if you are just running on Google AdWords or running banner ads to pop up under certain keywords.
Yeah.
But what it does is it allows you, in this digital age, you're running for county commission. You like President Trump. Everybody in the county knows you like President Trump. Your county has a lot of Trump supporters. You set those keywords, and when people follow Trump, or they search President Trump, or they're reading the news, there's your banner ad right there. You just paid 3 cents for that banner ad, and you're getting out to everyone in their homes, and it's a lot more cost effective than that 50 to 63 cent mail piece to each home.
So that's where we're going. I mean, you're fully convinced.
Some of the smartest operatives in the country took a risk 4 to 8 years ago and have been pushing this digital economy more and more, because I'm a lover of mail. Some strategists are lover of TV. To me, I can tell you right now, when I go home, I have HBO Go, Prime, Netflix. I don't find myself watching a lot of TV. I get my news from my phone. So digital is the way you're going to find me, digital or mail.
Yeah, it's an interesting time to be in this business. We one of the candidates I was helping, we actually did do a TV commercial, and it was funny because of what you said about all the digital subscription services, and it was on the basic channel, and the candidate came in after a couple of weeks and said, "I've not seen the commercial yet," because he didn't watch, he didn't watch a basic cable or whatever. So
and one thing, just the biggest secret out there is when you are hitting and you want to get outside your base, you want to get outside the base of Fox News, HGTV, the home channel, the food channel. That's where a lot of people are as well, watching the travel shows, and you find voters there.
Yeah.
So, but it's hard. 6 to 16 ads a day still are spread out.
Wow. And I want to get to sort of a lightning round here. We don't have a whole lot of time, but there's some things I did want to get to. Who do you think? Name your 5. I know you're a student of history. 5 best U.S. presidents.
I pulled it out just so I made sure I didn't.
Yeah, I asked you this earlier. Yes.
Reagan, Kennedy, Eisenhower, President Trump, and President Polk.
James K. Polk. That's going deep to the benches there.
You can't be in politics in Tennessee and not love what not only did he do for the state, but what he did for the country.
Yeah, that's a good answer on that. You mentioned this earlier, but I did have it down. You do think the president will be reelected?
I do. I have no doubt in my mind. The only way he's not reelected is if he chooses not to run.
Which I think, I don't know what the percentage is on that, but I think that's more likely than some of these other crazy scenarios. The government shutdown, how do you think that, where do you think we're at with that?
I think it's great. I am a lover of the shutdown. It one shows people that you don't need big government. You need small conservative government. And two, this shutdown is on one principle. It is on security. And the president and Senate Leader Mitch McConnell have already said they will not put a vote on the Senate floor unless the president endorses it. I believe that this is not posturing. He is going to get the funding for the southern border. He is going. This was one of his main campaign issues. He has fulfilled a lot of campaign promises. He's pulling troops out of Syria, which in the last few weeks has made some of his top advisors mad. But that was a campaign promise, and he's fulfilling them, and he's not going to budge until he feels that he has secured the border and fulfilled his promise to the people of the United States.
I think he has no choice. And one of the things we saw in the midterm election, people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the New Left, what do you think their impact is going to be on the new Congress? You know, she went out prematurely and endorsed a lot of candidates that just got slaughtered. What do you think? What's the impact there?
I think their impact on the new Congress is a division amongst the ranks of Democrats. I think the impact on Republicans in Congress, she's going to help us raise a ton of money. That money that's going to go in to winning in 2020. She's not causing problems for Republicans. The New Left is not causing problems for Republicans. On CNN earlier today, before the Democratic speaker vote, the take was, will she cause enough trouble for Nancy Pelosi not to have enough votes? That was what was being talked about. So it's not she's causing trouble for Representative McCarthy or Representative Fleischman. She's causing trouble for Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, and that's how it's going to stay.
Yeah, I hope it just keeps going personally. But what do you think that there's a chance? I guess there's always a chance, but what will a Democrat be elected statewide to any office in Tennessee in the next 12 years? You see, I think it's generational almost at this point.
Anything can happen. 12 years, you say generational, we're talking about another generation.
Yeah.
My belief is not. Good conservative government yields good results, and it yields voters who want to keep that extra money in their pocket, who want to be able to keep filling up their tank for $1.82 down at the gas station. So my initial reaction is no, but 12 years is a long time.
Yeah. Well, Dalton, I'll tell you, I can't imagine anyone better qualified to answer these questions. I can't thank you enough for being here. We really appreciate it. This just flew by.
Thank you for having me. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, and you're welcome back anytime.
Thank you.
Keep an eye on this guy. He's got a very bright future in state politics. And please join us next week. We will be back live on This Week in Anderson County. And check out Jimmy Bouchard In and Out Maintenance. And we will be live next week, next Thursday. Have a good evening.
In Vietnam, we took care of each other.
In combat, you look out for your battle buddy.
I'd do anything for my unit.
When things get tough, it's great to know
Somebody's there for you.
Every step of the way.
DAV stands behind America's veterans to make their transition back home easier, with free services and help getting the benefits they've earned. Help us fulfill the promise to our men and women who served. Go to DAV.org to learn more.
We are ASAP of Anderson. We are celebrating 10 years of prevention, powered by more than 11,000 hours given by volunteers like you. Together, we've reduced underage substance misuse in our county by 53.5%. Our brand has changed, but our mission remains the same. Prevention works.
I am for the child who's had 7 addresses in a single year, because she's in foster care, because her father abused her, and her mother couldn't believe her. She is the child I am for. I am a CASA volunteer. I am you.
Country Fresh Foods. You may not know the name, but you definitely know the taste.